Hey everybody, it's Candice Renee, and welcome back to Surviving and Thriving the Black Experience. We're going to go ahead and hop back into our discussion for part two with Leonard Dungee, the man who dared to live above reproach and who dared to take advantage of a second chance. He turned that second chance into Hope Hustlers, a non for profit that supports families as a whole while focusing on the most needy communities in regards to decreasing the potential for gun violence. This conversation is going to get real deep, so stay tuned. 2002 was a defining moment, like a defining year in your life, as we discussed. What was a turning point for you during this, like during your time of incarceration, when like you decided you wanted to change, or were you already in the mindset of wanting to embark on change for yourself and others, or when did the epiphany, or when did it happen for you?
Um, I knew I wanted to change. I was just greedy. I should have just got out of the game when I said I was. I was just greedy and
Mm-hmm.
just complacent. And um, when you lose that freedom and you can't, you know what I mean? You can't do, you know me. I like to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And them days was over with real quick. Overnight capture. And so then it was, and then I just started, figuring out how to, stay alive and survive in that situation. And then, when you got a lot of time to yourself to think and reflect on your life, uh, it'll change some things. So I don't want to say I was forced, but again, that's when God sat me down. And I was tired at the end. I was on the run. There was a whole lot of stuff going on. I was just, so when I finally got locked up and there was no bond anymore, none of that, then I was like, we should get some rest first of all and figure out what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm. So I
I
know
was
this not.
relieved, actually. I was tired.
I was just about to ask you. I'm like, so it kind of sounded like when you actually had to like sit down, um, it was more of a peace of mind to a certain extent that you hadn't given yourself
So
outside to a certain extent.
I would agree with that. I would
Did
say
you
that's
feel?
that it was a weird peace of mind because you're still in prison and you got to survive this place. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, yeah, it'll make you think about it.
Mm-hmm. You
So
talked
yeah,
about kind of like just the kind of like having a mindset of greed, right? Like I'm assuming the greed pertained to the money and things and such. Did you feel that it was like where you had to keep up a certain appearance? Did you feel you had to keep a certain lifestyle in regards to what kept you in that situation before I'm gonna say having to sit down?
yeah, I've never been one to do, you know, I I've never been one to like not be able to afford my lifestyle,
Yes.
but your expenses always rise to meet your income. And so once you start living a certain lifestyle, it's not about the appearances because I'm gonna live where I want to live and wear what I like to wear nice clothes, and designer clothes because I like the way the shit feel on my skin. It has
Yes.
nothing to do with how, the outer part. But yeah, once you got, two or three cribs, bunch of cars, bunch of women spread out throughout the country, that shit is expensive. Right.
Mhm.
So yeah, so both I would say is part of it. It's not about the appearance; it's about maintaining a lifestyle
Okay. Understandable.
and trying to stack enough money to remain in this lifestyle to be able to get out. You know, um, so all three of those things, and I was just in hustle mode, and I had the homies were looking out for me because they were like, "Dudgy, we ain't never seen you. I'm stressing. I'm going through a divorce. I got a wife and three kids, and you know." She ain't going nowhere. So that means I got to find somewhere else to live. And there was a lot going on at that time. And then, you know,
That's interesting. Something interesting that you just said with that too was you said like trying to make sure you can like stack and do what you need to do in regards to like the way out. Do you feel there's
right.
ever a way out without, in fact, having to sit down metaphorically in regards to incarceration, or is there ever a point where you can just, I don't want to do it?
Yeah. Most definitely. I mean, even like with the youth and the families that we work with now, I mean, we show them a way out. Don't choose my way out. You know what I
Right.
mean? But if I can help you, find a way out without having to go that route, then most definitely. And there is a way. I mean, there is. I just took advantage of the system. I think the reason I was in my position for so long was that because I knew how the system worked. I knew how the law worked. I knew how banking worked on different
Yeah.
levels. I knew how the stock
Yes.
market worked. I know how the hood worked. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, And so I guess kind of took advantage of that. But for families who, who just don't have the financial literacy, who don't have those skill sets, then that's what they need because that's the way out.
Thank you
I
for
just did it
saying
on
that.
steroids, if that makes sense. you know.
I'll make sure I highlight the importance in regards, as you said, with that financial literacy is very, very
Right.
important. And I think that often in certain districts and or in certain schools and things and such, I've seen it a little bit more on the rise now in infrastructure in educational infrastructures that talk about financial literacy and things and such. But when I'm a 1990s baby. Like this was not something that when we were in school, even in high school, it's not something we did. We took like electives if we chose to do something. Like
Right.
I feel like financial literacy in classes like that shouldn't be a choice. It should be something that you
Right.
have to, in fact, do. You should be learning about stocks. You should be learning about these things and stuff. And I remember being, I can even say like I remember being like 18, no, it's like 17, working one of my working maybe like my first or second job. And I remember I had a friend I went to high school with. It was a white gentleman. And I remember, even though we both were working at Woodman's, his whole entire trajectory was completely different from mine. He would take his money and put it into stocks. And me not knowing what a stock was, I was like, for what? Like, I'm going to the store. Like I had no financial literacy when I was younger because I wasn't brought up with it. I didn't have people in my family who were doing those. Like I had family who was working, of course, 9 to 5s, and having good careers and stuff like that. But we had that ancestral mindset that get a good job, work for the state, get a 401k, get a pension. That's like the ultimate Black dream. And realizing that as I've gotten older, and of course with myself doing what I'm doing now, that is not it's okay for some if that's what you want and you don't want your own and things as such. But ultimately, having your own is the pinnacle. Being able to give back what you learned and things as such, that's also another pinnacle and stuff, or another pillar of that. So but can you tell me about while incarcerated, you turn your pain into your purpose, right? So what inspired you to start mentoring and teaching others behind those walls? Because you could have easily went, did your time, came back home and been okay. Didn't have to do anything else and we wouldn't even be talking today. So what
That's
what
right.
inspired you and made, I mean, that's just being real. So
That
like
was the
what
plan. Shoot, that was the plan.
right. So what happened?
um. Okay. So in the federal penitentiary, and some state penitentiaries too. I know of California and Arizona. If you're under the age of 21, because in some camps, you have details. So like you can rake rocks for 10 cents an hour. You can clean the bathrooms and the hallways for 10 cents an hour. You could work in the kitchen for more money, or like I ended up working in the kitchen and being a tutor. I wasn't expecting on being a teacher. But the way it started was this kid Dante and politics and all that. Dante was bringing heat on us because he didn't want to go to class,
Mm-hmm.
but it causes like every time he doesn't go to class, now they got to shut the yard down and all this anyway. So Dante was getting in a lot of trouble. He was 19 years old. He was in there for assault, and they, the big homies on the yard came to me and said, "Dungee, man, we know you tutoring, man. Can you help little homie? Because if you don't, bro, I don't know if he gonna make it." So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Okay, man." And he got in there the first day, and I could tell he was a smart kid. He just, he reminded me a little bit of myself. He just want to do what the fuck he want to do, but
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't work here, bro. And so we started chopping it up and down. I was like, "So look, man, they finna beat your ass if you don't go to class." I don't care. I had to ask you before. I said, "Well, look, man, I'll make you a deal. I'm gonna help you get your GED in 90 days, right? And then you can get your job on the yard. You can be out, you know what I mean? Do your thing. He said, "Oh, you can give me help me get my GED in 90 days." I said, "Yeah, bro, nephew. If I don't get you your GED in 90 days, then I'll give you 3 cartons of cigarettes, which is a lot of money."
Mm-hmm.
And and his eyes got bright. But I said, "Now you got to come every day on time. I need your undivided attention." And so nephew put in the 90 days, and it didn't even take him 90 days. Actually, the kid was so smart. He tested out of like two, three of them. He tested out of like the language arts and the science and the social studies like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, he had to pass the math. And then it took him another 30 days to get the math, but he got his GED in 90 days. And just the look on his face and the light bulb that came off over, he was like, "Oh shit, I get it now. I can do this shit."
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't even just about the GED. He just had that outlook on life.
Right.
And so I said, "You good?" He said, "Yeah, I'm good." And so, luckily I ain't had to give that man no cigarettes because that's a whole lot of money. But and so that's how it kind of started. And so then, right, and I had a dream about this the other night because what happened was like, okay, so this happened on a Friday, right? And then, there's no school and all that shit on the weekdays. So we in the weekend, everybody, we threw the little homie a party. It was all that. How about Monday? I guess Monday morning when I went to class and I'm running late. I'm doing some shit, being somewhere I ain't supposed to be, but I'm running late to class. And because I figured, well, shit, Dante ain't nobody else gonna be in that bitch. So I walked in the doorway, and the classroom was full of people. And see, our teacher was an old man. He just let me and my homie just run the classroom because they listened to us. He was like, "Well, as long as they ain't killing each other, I'm good." And the old man looks like, "Dungey, I guess you gonna have to teach the class." I say, "Man, I we did one at a time. I've never done this shit before." And then
Mm-hmm.
me and my man just developed over time because we had a lot of time, but we developed a curriculum, and they still use that curriculum in Arizona State Prison right now.
That's absolutely
I mean, the
amazing.
same curriculum I use in the hood right now. So yeah, and
That's
that's how
a
it started.
That's amazing. So let me ask, because I know you can't break down, of course, the exact curriculum and things and such in regards to time and just
Okay.
probably like in general. So did you do it in regards to like I want to say like the basic concept of like see a need, feel a need, meeting them where they are in regards to what their skills are and what their level is, and pretty much like
Yeah.
individualizing the lessons for them.
Yeah.
So
Because the
look,
GED, a lot of people, the GED is not necessarily about, everybody's like, "Oh, it's going to be all this algebra, it's going to be all this geometry." The GED is a common sense test. It's not, you know what I mean? It's a
mm-hmm,
general equivalency. And it's really about reading comprehension. Even the math is about reading comprehension. And so once I, teach you that part of it, you can pass the test. Because, they give you the answers. I mean, it's multiple choice. So,
mm-hmm. It's like one of
and
them
I
got to
say,
be right.
and then look, if you know that these two are wrong, then now you got a 50-50 chance of getting it right. So little,
Absolutely.
test taking techniques, little stuff that I taught them that I learned that I was doing by teaching them. Actually, I said, "Oh shit, this is some shit that my mama told me. My
Mm-hmm,
grandmama told me a long time ago." So, but yeah, and then, the other stuff didn't come till later on after I've been in a couple years. And, we were I was still an elder on the yard. Like I said,
mm-hmm.
I'm associated with all the gangs, but I'm not affiliated with any of them. You know what I mean? I
Right.
got homies in all sets, all cliques. But that ended up being, I guess I was able to help because of that. You know what I mean? And they
Mm-hmm,
trusted me. They trusted you know what I mean? That
mm-hmm.
I was going to make a good, fair decision on behalf of all races, all whatever, because, we're here, we have to go habitate in this place. This ain't, this is not a playground. And so, as disputes happen, they started requesting me, and these are the inmates requesting me
Mm-hmm.
to act as a mediator because especially when you're in federal prison and out west, it's very political. What I mean by that is blacks run with blacks, Mexicans and Hispanics run with Hispanics, and whites run with whites. And then there's two sets of whites because not all whites. Well, all whites aren't skinheads, but then you got the skinheads, and they got their own whatever. But there be, from time to time, there be conflicts on the yard about, different stuff. Some of it important, some of it dumb. Um, but it's important to maintain the peace on the yard because
Hmm.
we all had families to go home to. Everybody I was there with, no matter how long they had been there, they had less than 10 years to go.
Hmm. And they
So
want to make it home.
yeah, everybody trying to go home, man.
Gotcha.
So
So you kind of touch base in regards to like how they like your experience changed the way you view like your responsibilities with others because they kind of like at that point pretty much like anointed you to be that person because the relationships that you had with everybody and just in regards to your actual work that you did with individuals and challenging them and things as such. Um so many people like struggle with believing that they can start over and have like a redemption story and or be able to redeem themselves. Can you tell me like what does redemption mean to you personally and or in regards to an inspiration for somebody else?
um, I don't know if you ever really get redemption.
Okay.
But just knowing that I could be of service.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's my redemption, and that to see that the looks on the faces of the people that I help. Um, it's more about that for me. A lot of people out here doing stuff for likes. I don't do it for likes. I don't really, yeah, I got an Instagram and I'm on social media and all that, but for me, it's just about knowing that I help you know that person and maybe you help save a life. At the end of the day, you never know.
That just to me that means that you do the real work. It's like you just
Yeah,
said, it's not
well,
about
thank you.
likes. It's not about like, oh, am I gonna have 1 million followers if I do this? It's very much in regards to like how I feel like how is God going to see me? Like, what are my just dues that I'm doing to sit here and be able to give back because you've been so blessed. And I think that's amazing. Um, Tell me about what kept you grounded and hopeful during your lowest moments.
You mean lowest moments during, pre, or post prison?
It could be all three,
Um,
whichever one or all three.
I just think that because in the nonprofit world, this ain't no joke neither. And so, but I don't really have a low moment. There are moments when we struggle for funding and what have you, and I'm still not low in a sense. I would say that my lowest moment when I got locked up, it was that melancholy feeling like, yeah, I'm relieved, but also part of it mean, like I mean, damn, I failed. You know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
I think that was a low moment for me. Um, but that's where that was the catalyst or the spark for it to change, me to change it. I didn't be like, oh shit, you know. No, I fucked up, but I didn't fail, if that makes sense.
Okay. I'm just making a note over here too. Um, so let's talk about Miss Gwendolyn Sands. Let's talk about your mommy. So, how did your mom influence your path and your mindset after your release? I know that we discussed that, of course, when you first were, incarcerated, of course, as any mother would be, of course, hurt, scared, all those different feelings. But how has she influenced your mindset and things in regards to I'm gonna say getting you in order and making sure that you have one path to stay on.
um, I don't think it was, like at that point, and she would tell you he hasn't listened to me in 50 some years. So, um, and you let her tell it. But no, I think for me, it was, her guidance for me was, I'd always been a businessman, and you know what I mean? My dad was a businessman. And so I knew the for-profit side of it. Um, but she helped me learn the nonprofit language. She helped me turn what I was doing into an evidence-based program, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? She
Hmm.
told me the language I need to use and how to formulate the curriculum so I can get outcomes and collect data to show people that, the program is working. So that
Okay.
whole nonprofit, um, it's a whole different world. It's a whole different language. So that's what she taught me. She also taught me programming, and how a program should work. You know, I just, for me, programming was having 30 dudes in the classroom and making sure everybody paying attention and making sure anybody trying and they're trying to, kill or hurt each other or something.
Hmm.
But when you're actually dealing with kids and um, sometimes in a school structure or a court structure, how to run the program. in order to to achieve the greatest outcomes, making sure that the kids are actually getting what they need. So that's where she helped. Um, yeah, and not that I was always rebellious. I was mischievous. So, like I said, let my mama tell you, I don't listen to her on that, but that's not true. I do listen to her on that part of it. And I do, I listen to my mom,
I'm about
grown
to.
now.
Well, what I'll
But
say is offline. I can't wait to pick your brain in regards to the nonprofit world, but that's a whole nother video.
yeah, that's a whole other lie.
Right.
It's more gangsters in the nonprofit world than it is in the hood. I promise you that. So,
You heard it here first. I'm about to say
I said what I said.
we are speaking the truth tonight. Okay.
Ain't never met this many gangsters. I grew up in the hood. No, I ain't prison. So, but no, but yeah, we'll talk about that. It's yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate that truth. um, what values did your mom instill in you that still guide you as a leader today?
Um, my mom is, I would say, and not to take anything away from my mom. It's just in early beginning, I had both my grandmothers again, and they were like, they were some powerful women. And I watched them look out for people in the community. You know what I mean? I watched them, like my grandmother used to, after church, they used to cook a whole, like, seemed like 100 pounds of chicken,
Yep.
fried chicken, and had the whole hood would come there, all the brothers, all the, my uncle and his homeboys, they bring their cars out and they pull up in my grandmother's yard and play basketball until the sun went down and eat chicken and
Mm-hmm.
drink beer. But it was that was like, I thought it was just cool because, everybody had everybody at my mama house. But and all the people in the neighborhood were there. But in the end of the day, what she used to say was, I heard her telling somebody, she said, why you have all these youngsters in, she was like, I'd rather than be here, eating and, having fun and socializing here than be out somewhere else in the county racing, doing dumb shit. So I was like, that's kind of where they were the first ones that ingrained that service part to me. But it really didn't hit until later on, obviously. But, so I would accredit that part to them. My mom just kind of like, cause you got to remember, my mom, she was around when I was a kid, but she was still getting her education. She was
Yes.
young too when she had me. So, she didn't get me until I was in high school. And then
Mm-hmm.
she moved me out with the white people trying to get me out the hood. I was like,
You're like, it's too late. It's already in me.
it's too late. It's too late. And so, then so that's kind of how that happened. As a matter of fact, my graduating class was 1,200 people. They only had 6 black people in it.
Mm.
So,
All right. So let me ask this. And speaking on so two things. Hold on. I don't want to forget. Write this
mhm.
down. Okay. So in part of what you said, tell me like what you think the difference is because like that is definitely a mindset of that I've heard, and I'm probably gonna say it wrong. It's like you can take the person out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the person. Is
Right.
that a thing? And let's speak about like what does hood mean?
Right. So the hood is a short for me for neighborhood.
Okay.
I say community, and depending on what settings, it's that language again,
Right.
depending on where I am. But amongst my friends and peers, you know where the hood is, because I say that to you because you know where the hood is.
Of
So
course, of course.
right. So I mean, amongst us. But are you getting to the code changing thing or something? Is that what you're trying to
What?
figure out?
No, I'm saying that for the audience, for the audience, for
Okay, I
people who
just
are in fact will watch this and things and such, because I feel like
mhm.
people may not understand, right? People
Right,
may
right,
not
right.
understand. Well, what's the difference in like a white educational system and like a black neighborhood educational system? Like it should be the
Okay.
same, right?
It should be, but it's not. And unfortunately, it's based on tax dollars. And we know that there's more tax dollars coming out of those white neighborhoods than they are in the community.
Right.
in our community. And so that's part of it. I think also over time it has gotten bad. Like I remember when my grandmother, back in them days, they had home economics. So people were trying to get out of school, go to school and get out so they can get onto their, get a job, get on to the rest of their life.
Yep.
But they had like auto shop, wood shop, that she had home ec. People went through her class, got jobs in commercial, kitchens and doing different things. So um I think we got away from that because the classrooms started getting bigger and bigger. The
Hmm.
teachers start caring less and less
Yes.
because they got these huge classrooms and the paychecks aren't going up equivalent to the classroom size. And then, back in that day, shit, I had 15 people in my high school classroom, you know,
Yeah.
maybe 20. Now it's 30 plus, in all school. But I just think that, it's the text. The text basically goes all the way back to redlining and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. I
But yeah, I
definitely.
did notice a
Mhm.
difference.
Yeah. No, I definitely align with that because I went from I lived on the west side and the east side of a town, right? And when I went to school on the west side, it was very diverse. Like it was quite a few people who were black, white, Hispanic, Chinese, Filipino. Like it was very diverse, the high school I went to, and I loved it. And then for like a year, I had to switch to the east side and it was predominantly Hispanic. When I tell you, when I went to this high school, lunch on point. Let's get that out the way. The lunch programs always seem to be okay in the like in an impoverished school. The lunches are fine. We don't want you to know that all the other opportunities, as long as we keep your stomach full. But because their lunches were 10 times better. But what I will say is that like the actual opportunities in regards to electives, the actual standard that the teachers have for the students and their outcomes was completely different. And I can't say every single teacher at that high school was like that, but like being, a graduate for over 20 years now, it, that's wild how that red line that you're talking about, that financial taxpayer infrastructure, because West Side had it to where the students from the North Side, which is where the money is, they would be at the
Mhm.
West Side and North Side, and that's where those kids went, and that's where all the electives were. Anything
Yep.
you wanted to think of, you could sit here and do on the West Side, right? But when we
Yep.
ended up having to move for a year to go to the East Side, I was like, where am I? Like, what is this? So much so that like the school was so packed, the high school was so packed that I had to carry my book bag, like, and carry all my books because I didn't have a locker for the year. Like it was completely insane. So I completely know exactly what you're talking about in regards to the different infrastructures based upon what side of town you live on, and or where the tax money and stuff goes. I completely understand. I also want to mention when you were talking about how your grandmother, I believe, or your mom, you were saying that she would get like 100 pound worth of chicken or whatever, to make sure everybody was
My
fed and stuff
grandma.
like that on Sunday. I grew up in that, and that is such a gem in the Black community that I do not see as often anymore. Now, mind you, I do stay in a suburb that is predominantly white where I live now. But when I grew up, like I used to go to church, when I tell you, not just because I'm chunky, right? But like in general, it used to be so much fun. And little did I know and understand just how much it would be missed seeing the young men playing basketball, like having balloon fights and stuff, and everybody being outside, and like the parents being outside in the lawn chairs playing spades, playing dominoes. This is where you learn these core skills at. You can't wait till you get grown to be on the table. Like you cannot wait.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's not what it looks like, at least should I say, in quite a few communities of us, I should say, at least in Illinois. That's not what it looks like. And it's so sad that it's turning. But that absolutely is such a, I won't even say a hidden gem. I'm gonna say it's such a gem to have like that type of community. Like, I
Right.
miss it
Right.
sometimes so much. um,
Yeah.
so I know that you spent decades mentoring youth. How do you believe young men, or what do you believe young men need most from mentors right now?
Um, Authenticity and, and, and showing them that you care. Uh, They just need to know somebody cares outside of their household, if there is anyone in their household.
Mm-hmm.
Just that there's, I look at them with no judgment. I just like, bro, nephew, what's up? And once they know that you act truly, care when you don't have to, just do because I care, about my people and my community. But yeah, then that's where the trust and rapport starts to build from that
Mm-hmm.
point on. But you have to, and they can tell. People can tell when it's genuine and when it's fake.
Mm-hmm.
Especially kids. They recognize whatever off rip. You know what I mean? They
What they
don't
call a game
let
recognized game.
they recognize it quick. They don't let nothing get by them. So, but yeah, that's kind of the beginning of it. I would think.
Okay.
I would say.
So how do you balance it all? Because you do quite a bit. And while staying true to your true purpose. And so what I mean by that is like the work that you do and while helping to support young men and grown men, of course, as well too, in their circumstances in regards to gang violence and overcoming lifestyles, previous lifestyles that were detrimental and things as such, while also understanding that like where we live at and just as a whole, the pressure of being a black man.
Um. So how do I help? I mean, how do I balance it? Um. A good support system. I have some really really good close friends and business associates that can keep me grounded. I think that the work itself keeps you grounded. Um, because when you start dealing with people who, are underserved, that kind of right there alone keeps you grounded. Like, damn, I know my day is, it's not going too well, but at least I ain't, at least
Mm-hmm.
I ain't got that going on. And so it's a, I just learned to do it over time as well. It just takes time. You gotta, self-care, all that.
Okay.
Um, and I could use more self-care probably. I could do a lot of different things, but right now I'm in a good space. So we're good.
What
But I
does
know it's hard,
your oh sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying, I know you saying for a black man, I mean, I guess I've been doing it so long. I mean,
You're like it's just
it's,
automated at this point.
it's like second nature, but yeah.
What does self-care look like for you? What do you do to relax and depress from the day and mellow?
Travel, um, visit friends, um, play a little golf, you know what I mean? Um, yeah,
Okay.
mostly traveling though, just going places, doing stuff in somewhere other than Atlanta.
Okay. Let's see. What's the most powerful lesson that you learned from the young people you mentored? So I know you were like, ooh, sometimes like stuff might be bad, but it's not that. But in general, so like what were some lessons that you have learned from someone else?
Oh, that's a good one. And dealing with these kids and their families and actually getting involved in the whole family unit because it doesn't make sense for me to mentor a kid and he send them home to a I'm got him 4 hours a day but he goes home to a toxic environment for the other 20 hours, so that's why we have to engage, we engage the family as well. But um kids just like what they have taught me is that especially in today's time, and we were like earlier we were talking about parents being accountable.
Mhm.
I learned that through kids and parents not even accountable for themselves. So, that sometimes it really is the parent. Or sometimes, like, kids are always going to complain about a teacher,
Mhm.
but sometimes that teacher it does need to get the hell on because she in the way. She's creating problems. People don't realize sometimes these teachers with these attitudes and whatnot create violence. They create violent situations in the school. They
Mhm.
create that energy. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so, um, yeah. So, but that's what I learned a lot from kids in that how they react to their situation or their circumstances and what's really, the trigger for it. Sometimes it's the parents, sometimes it's the teacher, and they're kids, so they don't know. And
Mhm.
so it is our responsibility, so yeah, that's one of the things that I keep learning over and over. It's like, man, it's really not these kids' fault. It's really not.
It that's
Um, It's
That's
everybody around them, me included. So
That's really true. I think it's very I appreciate you saying that when it's like, no, sometimes the teacher can in fact be the problem. And that's honestly the truth. A lot of these children, right, especially who are having behavioral concerns or antisocial and or who are isolating themselves, already are in a very dismissive environment. And so to be in another space where you are supposed to be that open door, because you have to understand that sometimes, even though some teachers like will say it so easy, like, oh, my door is open, it's an open door policy, talk to me. Do you really mean that? Because when that child comes to you and talks about their life of what they're seeing at home or what's happening to them or the experiences that they had and things, are you ready? Are you really ready for that real conversation? Or are you going to say, okay, well, go ahead and go sit down, little Tommy. It'll be
right,
okay. That dismissive attitude, I think,
right,
is what has to be dismantled. Because if you
right,
should, especially if you're working in a school, um, that literally every school has children who are black. You have to dismantle that actual mentality because these babies come with so many stories that they just want to tell, that they just need somebody to tell it to, and for somebody to in fact hear and listen. Um, So something I had mentioned a little earlier was about that concept of like elders and like the belief of the American dream, right? Being to get a good job, work hard, retire with a pension or a 401k. Do you still think that's the American dream today? And especially for Black men, do you think that's all they should strive to? Do you think only some should? Or what is your belief around entrepreneurship if it mends and if it's a both and?
I would always, obviously, I'm always recommend entrepreneurship, but I think we have lost the true sense of value of a dollar as a culture. So when you say that, it's like, yeah, because that's what my grandparents used to say, and that was cool. Like back in the '60s, and you know what I mean, in the '70s, you can get it. You know, a lot of these jobs are automated now. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
really, I would say find a skill set. We lost. I mentioned earlier how we lost in schools. We lost vocational education. But that's who's making the money now. Plumbers, electricians, carpenters. If you can do, HVAC, if you can
Mm-hmm.
work on a car, if you can cook. Now, even with that, and that's one of the things that like my nonprofit and my other nonprofits that I partner with that do, that some of these guys have trades. They're like skilled tradesmen that also have a nonprofit that it's great to want to be a plumber. Plumbers make good money. But I want you to own your own truck and maybe have a small crew and have a small plumbing company because then you'll be making just as much as a doctor or a lawyer, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with an electrician. It's great to get that skill. You know what I mean? I think we should all get that skill. Now, if you don't have that entrepreneurial spirit in you, then that's great. It's still a good check.